Welcome back to Investigate Joe Rogan, the podcast where I fact check and investigate things that have been said on the Joe Rogan Experience. Today I'll be looking at episode 1873 with Brigham Buhler. A lot of people come on Jerry to scam the audience. They are trying to sell things to you, the audience member. This is a whole new kind of episode because Buhler is scamming Joe Rogan personally. He is actually scamming the host of the podcast. I cannot think of any other episode or podcast where this is the case. This is some revolutionary stuff here. He is going straight to the source. He knows that Joe Rogan has more money than we do, so he's targeting him specifically. This guy runs a clinic in Texas somewhere. I can't remember where, Arlen, Texas, or whatever, where you can get stem cells and you can get testosterone and some other things like that. He brags in this episode that they do not accept insurance of any kind. Personally, I doubt insurance would cover something like this, so I think this bragging is for nothing. One of the first things Buhler says to try and discredit doctors is that their knowledge is out of date 18 months out of medical school. I could not find anything to support this idea, and I highly doubt that the entirety of medical knowledge is revolutionized every year and a half. This is really just part of his broader message of, not trusting doctors. You shouldn't trust your doctor, and I'll talk about that more later. In the first part of the episode, he mostly talks about the opioid crisis and Big Pharma. He says that the Sackler family, who owned Purdue, are one of the richest families in America and are up there with the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. This is true, but I thought it would be interesting to elaborate on this further. The Sackler family is the 30th wealthiest family in America, according to Forbes. Their fortune has been in decline ever since people caught on to the fact that their business model was basically selling heroin. That has created a slight dip in profits, even though the product hasn't changed. It is still the same great product that I personally enjoy a lot. That being said, they are actually wealthier than the Rockefellers, who are only ranked 43rd. The Vanderbilts aren't even on the list. They aren't even in the top 50. Apparently the railroad business is not what it once was, now that there's things like cars and airplanes to compete with. Their most powerful living heir is actually Anderson Cooper, who is a Vanderbilt. Also, he's obviously in the CIA, if you look into that for longer than 10 seconds. The richest family in America by far is the Walton family, who owns Walmart. They have a collective $247 billion. For comparison, Elon Musk has $230 billion. There's something I enjoy about them being the wealthiest family. I think that's very appropriate and very American. And I like that it's them and not some tech psychopath. At least many of the things sold at Walmart are not actively making society worse. You know what I mean? That's just something I like about that. Like Rogan, Buhler does not think that the vaccine does anything. He does not think it makes you less likely to die of COVID. He also says there's no long-term studies on the vaccine, which he's very concerned about. And that's true because the vaccine is new. However, there's also no long-term studies about taking stem cells or testosterone replacement therapy. So I don't know if that's really a game he wants to be playing. According to the latest numbers, unvaccinated people die at about 7 times the rate of the fully vaccinated and 20 times the rate of the vaccine boosted. The vaccine achieved this statistic even taking into account the fact that older people are more likely to be vaccinated and also more likely to die of COVID. So, if in October of 2022, you are still on the fence about the whole vaccine thing, you have not quite made up your mind. Here, these are some things you can consider. You can say all of these studies and numbers are just a conspiracy to avoid this reality if you want to. That's basically what Buhler does. He doesn't provide any sort of reason for thinking that the vaccine doesn't do anything. He just says that he doesn't trust Big Pharma and the federal government. That is fair, obviously, but ultimately it's just a conspiracy, and I don't see any reason to think it's true. When Peter McCulloch came on, he said the same thing. When it really came down to the topic of does the vaccine actually work, this is all he had to appeal to. He just said, oh, the numbers are fake, it's all a conspiracy. I'm not even inherently anti-conspiracy, but I'm going to need more than that to be convinced here. I need something. At least promise that you have documents that you'll give to Rogan off camera. At least do something like that. Don't just leave me sitting here with nothing. Buhler says that low testosterone will put you at greater risk for the 4 leading causes of death, which he calls the 4 horsemen. The biggest cause of death in America is heart disease, and there's maybe kind of some evidence that low test could be a contributing factor to heart disease. But it is a tentative connection. It's basically yet another correlation-causation thing. It can't be proven. It's not a clear link. The second leading cause of death is cancer. Low test does not give you cancer. The third leading cause of death right now is actually COVID, but I will skip over that since obviously that wasn't the case until recently. So putting that aside, the third leading cause of death in America is accidents. Accidental death. Obviously, low testosterone does not cause accidental death, and I highly doubt that Buhler even knows that this is the third leading cause of death. Most of what goes into this category are car accidents, falling, and poisoning. Seriously, that is the third leading cause of death in America. But it's really not in the same league as the first two. Heart disease and cancer both kill over 500,000 people per year, but accidents only kill about 160,000 a year. So heart disease and cancer are really in their own tier. They would be like the S tier. The fourth leading cause of death is chronic lower respiratory diseases. Low testosterone does not give you these diseases. Smoking does. Something that Rogan and his guests do on camera frequently. I can kind of sort of give him heart disease, but really what he's saying here is not true. Low test is not this massive killer. It won't give you cancer, it won't crash your car, and it will not give you lung disease. It probably won't even give you heart disease. Low test is bad for other reasons, but he probably just made this stuff up. Remember, this guy runs a facility in Texas where they'll blast you with tests without any sort of doctor's prescription or whatever. So obviously he's going to try and make low test out to be the most dangerous thing ever. What's funny is that you really don't need some special clinic in Texas to get test. It's really easy to get online. There are also large men at your local non-commercial gym who can hook you up fairly easily. If you really want tests, you do not need to get it from Brigham Buhler, JRE guest. This guy's company is called Ways Too Well, and their biggest thing is stem cells. Do stem cells do anything? They didn't actually talk about it that much in this episode, but I thought I would discuss it because that's kind of this guy's whole deal. First of all, a lot of cowards go on JRE and say, oh, I'm not a doctor, okay, I never went to medical school, haha. Just keep that in mind, I'm not a doctor. This is because they don't want to be held accountable for the things they say. Well, I'm not going to say that. If you die, because you listen to me and don't go get stem cells shot into your spine, I accept full legal responsibility. Come after me if you die because of this. Have your descendants email me and come after me with the full force of the law. I am not a doctor and I am telling you what to do because I'm confident that I'm right. I'm not a coward like these guests who go on and do this little disclaimer. I don't need a disclaimer. Stem cell therapy, especially pertaining to all the things he's talking about, is an experimental, unproven medical treatment. Stem cell therapy has given people tumors and lesions. Buhler fully admits in this episode that most stem cell clinics are scams. He just follows that up by saying, oh dude, trust me, okay, mine is legit though. I'm not like all the other girls. No serious doctor will tell you that stem cell therapy is ready to go, especially not for things like back pain or rotator cuffs. There are no studies or anything on the Ways Too Well website. only testimonials from a bunch of e-celebs, most of whom have also been guests on Jerry, like Tim Kennedy. They don't even make any specific claims on their website. It just says, through new technologies in regenerative medicine, treatments are now available that may enhance your own body's natural ability to heal itself. Regenerative medicine is used for the management of pain, expedited healing from sports injuries and surgeries, and even to combat the signs of aging. Our goal is to help you make an educated investment in your healthcare and live the life you are meant to live. They use this sort of language so they can't be sued when it doesn't do anything. They also sell things like eye serum and CBD gel on their website, which is a sure sign that you have found yourself a reputable doctor. Because this is all unregulated, there is no way of knowing whether or not Buhler is even really injecting people with stem cells. As he himself points out, many of these clinics have been revealed to not even be using stem cells, and just getting away with it because nobody is checking. This guy's background is in marketing, not science. As he talks about in the beginning, his first job in the medical industry was pitching drugs to doctors as a salesman. And I think that he is a pretty good salesman. I don't think that he is a liar, really. I think he probably does believe in what he's doing, at least on some level. As George Costanza said, it's not a lie if you believe it. I find it interesting that just like the last alternative medicine guest I covered, Max Lugavere, Buhler has a tragic backstory. Just like how the death of Max's mom due to Alzheimer's got him into researching dementia, Buhler's brother overdosing on OxyContin got him into the world of alternative medicine. To me, this indicates that they are probably sincere in what they're doing, even if what they're doing isn't really that medically sound. Those are all my notes for this episode. If you really want stem cells, even after all of this, just message me on Twitter and I will send some to you in the mail. Thank you for listening, and I will be back soon with another episode.